Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. Well, if you've been following Minnesota, the state of Minnesota has been in the national news here recently as a result of the ICE agent shooting and killing a female protester. And also there are allegations of at least $1 billion worth of fraud that is taking place under the nose of Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. $1 billion worth of waste and fraud that's taking place. But also the feds are very active. The FBI are very active in these fraudulent pandemic fraud schemes that took place during the United States shutdown. They're still going after folks. And I got a whopper for you that's coming, unfortunately, straight out of Minnesota. This scheme adds up to the tune of $250 million and is associated with allegedly, supposedly feeding poor children, which they never did. So let's get into it. And there's two people involved that were the masterminds, according. Federal jury finds Feeding Our Future, this is a nonprofit, Feeding Our Future, Mastermind and Co-Defendant guilty in a $250 million pandemic fraud scheme. Straight out of Minneapolis, two individuals have been convicted by a federal jury for their roles in a $250 million fraud scheme that exploited a federally funded child nutrition program, announced acting U.S. Attorney Lisa D. Kirkpatrick. Amy Bach and Salim Sayed, S-A-I-D, took advantage of the COVID-19 pandemic to carry out a massive fraud scheme that stole money meant to feed children, said acting U.S. Attorney Lisa D. Kirkpatrick. The defendants falsely claimed to have served, listen to this, 91 million meals, for which they fraudulently received nearly $250 million in federal funds. That money did not go to feed, unfortunately, that money did not go to feed kids. Instead, it was used to fund their lavish lifestyles. And this verdict sends a message to the community that fraud against the government will not be tolerated. Stealing from the federal government is stealing from the American people, plain and simple. The egregious fraud uncovered in the Feeding Our Future case, Feeding Our Future, represents the blatant betrayal of public trust. These criminals stole hundreds of millions in federal funding meant to feed hungry children during a crisis and instead funneled it into luxury homes, cars, lavish lifestyles while families struggled, said Special Agent in Charge Alvin M. Winston, Sr. of the FBI of Minneapolis. Now listen to how many alphabet agencies are involved in this and how much trouble these people are in. The FBI will not allow criminals to rob federal programs and walk away unscathed. We will expose these schemes, dismantle their networks, and ensure they face the full weight of justice. Amy Bach, Salim Sayed, and others took advantage of a global pandemic to rob food programs aimed at serving those in need of hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars during a time when so many people were struggling, said Ramsey Covington, Special Agent in Charge, IRS, Criminal Investigation, the Chicago Field Office. Instead of overseeing the distribution of meals to low-income children, Bach's organization enabled meal site operators to commit fraud. This verdict is the product of dedicated investigators and prosecutors to bring accountability to those who brazenly stole from the American public. IRS Criminal Investigation is deeply committed to working with our partner agencies to combat these types of fraud schemes and ensure our American tax dollars serve their intended purpose. Today's verdict reaffirms how critical a role the U.S. Postal Inspection Service plays in protecting the American consumer from these types of fraudulent schemes and ensuring that the nation's U.S. mail stream is not used by criminals to prey upon citizens in programs intended to aid those in need during difficult times. The bold, egregious nature in which these fraudsters victimize our children in programs intended to feed them during a worldwide pandemic illustrates their callous disregard for human decency and overall greed. This is what Brian Musgrove, the inspector in charge of the Denver division, stated. This investigation is a tremendous example of how the U.S. Postal Inspection Service and our FBI law enforcement partners can work side by side in an effort to bring these fraudsters to justice. Historically, the Federal Child Nutrition Program provided meals to children in school-based programs or activities. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, the acronym is USDA, waived some of the standard requirements for participation in the Federal Child Nutrition Program. Among other things, the USDA allowed for-profit restaurants to participate in the program for the first time, as well as allowed for off-site food distribution to children outside of educational programs. As proven at trial, Amy Bach, who's 44, was the founder and executive director of Feeding Our Future, a nonprofit organization that was a sponsor participating in the Federal Child Nutrition Program. Salim Said, 36, former co-owner of Safari Restaurant, was jointly tried with Ms. Bach. Together, they oversaw a massive fraud scheme carried out by sites under Feeding Our Future's sponsorship. As proven at trial, Feeding Our Future employees, this is what they did. As proven at trial, Feeding Our Future employees recruited individuals and entities to open federal child nutrition program sites throughout the state of Minnesota. These sites, created and operated by Bach, Said, and others, fraudulently claimed to be serving meals to thousands of children a day within just days or weeks of being formed. Bach and Said created and submitted false documentation, including fraudulent meal counts consisting of fake attendance rosters, purporting to list the names and ages of the children receiving meals at the site each day. Feeding Our Future submitted fraudulent claims to the Minnesota Department of Education, MDE, and then dispersed the fraudulent obtained Federal Child Nutrition Program funds to their co-conspirators involved in the scheme. So, to accomplish their scheme, Bach and Said created dozens of shell companies to enroll in the program as food program sites and to receive and launder the proceeds of their fraudulent scheme. In exchange for sponsoring these sites, fraudulent participation in the program, Feeding Our Future received more than $18 million in administrative fees to which it was not to be entitled to. So the government made a mistake. In addition to the administrative fees, Feeding Our Future employees solicited and received bribes and kickbacks from individuals and companies sponsored by Feeding Our Future. Many of these kickbacks were paid in cash or disguised as consulting fees, paid to shell companies created by Feeding Our Future employees to make them appear legitimate. But as proven at trial, Said's Safari Restaurant reported approximately $600,000 in annual revenue in each of the 3 years prior to the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. In April 2020, Safari Restaurant enrolled in the Federal Child Nutrition Program under the sponsorship of Feeding Our Future. By July 2020, said claimed to be serving meals to 5,000 children per day, 7 days a week. Didn't even take a day off. In total, Mr. Said claimed to have served over 3.9 million meals to children from the Safari Restaurant food site between April 2020 and November 2021. In 1 year, Mr. Said also claimed that Safari Restaurant provided more than 2.2 million meals to other food sites involved in Feeding Our Future's fraud scheme. That's a lot of meals in a short period of time. In total, and the government should have been aware of this from day one. There should have been red flags from day one. In total, Feeding Our Future opened more than 250 federal child nutrition program sites throughout the state of Minnesota, and in doing so went from receiving and dispersing approximately $3.4 million in federal funds in 2019 to nearly $200 million in 2021, in just 3 years, 2 to 3 years. Throughout the course of their scheme, Feeding Our Future fraudulently obtained and dispersed more than $240 million in federal child nutrition program funds. The defendants used the proceeds of their fraudulent scheme to purchase luxury vehicles, residential and commercial real estate in Minnesota, as well as property in Ohio, Kentucky, real estate in Kenya, in Africa, and in Turkey, and to fund international travel. After a 6-week trial, Bach was convicted on 4 counts of wire fraud, 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, 1 count of bribery, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit federal programs bribery. Mr. Said was convicted of 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, 4 counts of wire fraud, 1 count of conspiracy to commit federal programs bribery, 8 counts of bribery, 1 count of conspiracy to commit money laundering, and 5 counts of money laundering. This case is the result of an investigation by the FBI, the IRS Criminal Investigations, and the U.S. Postal Inspection Services. I don't believe that these 2 individuals thought that they were going to be in this big and world of trouble. This is where arrogance and hubris and narcissism comes into play, where these individuals, especially these 2, thought that they would be smarter than our U.S. American government system, and they got caught with both hands in the cookie jar.